Aren't you forgetting the ruby slippers?
Slippers. Yes.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the times Wicked doesn't just stray off the yellow brick road laid down by the Wizard of Oz, but practically creates its own off-road path. And yes, we are aware Wicked isn't L. Frank Baum canon. Also, since some of these points address plots that should take place in Part 2, this is your spoiler warning.
Here, Scarecrow. Wanna play ball?
Number 10. What is the deal with those winged monkeys? We don't think we'll ever outgrow the terror of those winged beasts haunting our nightmares.
Now fly! Fly!
Yet Wicked gives them a new backstory that could certainly conjure up some sympathy from the audience.
Don't let her get away! This wicked witch.
In Wicked, we learn how they got their wings and allied with Elphaba, aka the Wicked Witch. L. Frank Baum's books also enrich their tale, giving them the power of speech and explaining how they're controlled by a magical hat. But sticking with the 1939 film for a moment, after Dorothy melts the witch, one monkey seems especially overjoyed by this turn of events. If Elphaba treated them as kindly as Wicked implies, surely this wouldn't be a moment of celebration.
She's dead. You killed her.
I didn't mean to kill her. Really, I didn't. It's just that he was on fire.
Hail to Dorothy! The Wicked Witch is dead!
Number 9. How can the witch be an animal advocate after what she tried to do to Toto? A major theme in Wicked is Elphaba's devotion to animal kind and their rights.
Listen to me! You're not being told the whole story!
You can't permit this. I'm afraid it's out of our hands. Are we all just gonna sit here in silence? Well, someone's got to do something.
She sacrifices nearly everything to stand up for them. Yet in The Wizard of Oz, one of her most famous and often parodied lines is,
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Now granted, that's quite vague and more about punishing Dorothy than sweet little Toto. Yet later on, after she's captured Dorothy, the witch threatens to drown the pup unless Dorothy gives up those slippers.
Oh, please give me back my dog.
Certainly, certainly. When you give me those slippers.
But the good witch of the north told me not to.
Very well. Throw that basket in the river and drown him.
No, here. You can have your old slippers, but give me back Toto.
You could argue it's just a scare tactic, and she never truly intended to harm the dog. Even so, she takes quite a few dangerous risks for someone supposedly committed to animal welfare.
Run, Toto, run!
Catch him, you fool!
Number 8. So the lion isn't the only animal who talks? While talking animals in Baum's books are nothing out of the ordinary, in the 1939 movie, the only creature we see with the ability to speak is the cowardly lion.
Look at the circles under my eyes. I haven't slept in weeks.
Why don't you try counting sheep?
That doesn't do any good. I'm afraid of them.
Other animals appear, of course, but they silently serve their human masters. If you haven't read Baum's books, it might have surprised you to think that this one character inspired an entire oppressed culture in Wicked.
Each rabbit would show respect to me. The chipmunks genuflect to me. Though my tail would lash, I would show compassion for every underling.
The musical also tries to explain why the lion is cowardly, though the reasoning feels a little confusing. Still, there's nothing in the story that makes him seem like he's in more danger than his friends. That said, given what we now know, bringing him straight to the wizard doesn't seem like the smartest move.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Frightening him like that when he came to you for help.
Number 7. Why does Glinda send Dorothy to the Emerald City? We all know how Glinda let Dorothy take the scenic route home instead of just telling her to click her heels there and then in Munchkinland.
He lives in the Emerald City, and that's a long journey from here. Did you bring your broomstick with you?
No, I'm afraid I didn't.
Well, then you'll have to walk.
Dorothy's role in Wicked is significantly smaller, yet Glinda still sends her off to see the wizard. Why? She was there when Elphaba exposed him as a fraud. What good did she think that would do?
You have no real power.
That's why I need you.
Was she just trying to get Dorothy out of the way? If only there were magical shoes to send her home instantly.
There they are, and there they'll stay.
In Baum's books, Glinda is actually the Good Witch of the South and isn't even involved in this part of the story. It's all just very confusifying. Number 6. Dorothy's companions don't seem to have a prior beef with the witch. We have so many questions about how Dorothy's companions connect to Wicked, but let's start with the obvious.
I'll see you reach the wizard, whether I get a heart or not. Beehive, bah! Let her try and make a beehive out of me.
If the Tin Man or Lion had past run-ins with the witch that made them hate her, wouldn't that be a great icebreaker with Dorothy? Like, oh, she's after your shoes? Yeah, she turned me into tin. What a witch, right? It's as the wizard says in the 2024 movie.
The best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy.
Instead, their main issues seem to be A, she's after their friend who they just met, and B, she's a witch. The Tin Man also mentions being rusted, quote, for the longest time, which makes us question the entire timeline where these two stories overlap.
About a year ago, I was chopping that tree when suddenly it began to rain. And right in the middle of the chop, I rusted solid. And I've been that way ever since.
Number 5. But the Wicked Witch is, well, wicked? One of the most beautiful things about Maguire's novel, and subsequently the musical, is how it challenges our perceptions of good and evil.
Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them?
Still, no matter how you spin it, in The Wizard of Oz, the witch does some pretty awful stuff. In Baum's books, she wants the shoes to gain more power and rule Oz. While the movie isn't that dark, she's still pretty cruel, especially with her repeated threats to Dorothy. Even her guards seem happy to be rid of her, which says a lot. Wicked does a great job of making her actions more understandable, which we love. Still, some of her behavior in the original feels a bit, well, wicked. Number 4. Isn't Oz meant to be a figment of Dorothy's subconscious? If you've read the books, you already know the answer, but let's focus on the 1939 movie this time.
This was a real, truly live place. And I remember that some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful.
At the end, Dorothy wakes up in Kansas, and it seems like her time in Oz was just a vivid dream, while all the characters she met were stand-ins for people from her real life. Factoring in Wicked would mean Dorothy must have one powerful subconscious to create backstories for all these Ozians, and also invent an entire prequel, too.
Let me tell you the whole story.
So we're curious, what happens to Dorothy after Glinda sends her home in Wicked's version of events? Is it still just a dream? And do the people she met still resemble people she actually knows?
But it wasn't a dream. It was a place. And you, and you, and you, and you were there.
Oh,
But you couldn't have been, could you?
Number 3. Why would Glinda give away those shoes? It's already strange how, in The Wizard of Oz, Glinda takes it upon herself to give away someone else's shoes.
Oh, please give me back my dog.
Certainly, certainly. When you give me those slippers.
But the Good Witch of the North told me not to.
But hey, better on Dorothy's feet than on someone known as Wicked, right? Things get even weirder when you consider the relationship between the witches in the musical.
Pink goes good with green.
Goes well with green.
It so does.
As we know, Elphaba and Glinda were once friends, and Glinda also knew Nessarose, the previous owner of the magical footwear. So why would she be so happy to see her former friend's sister crushed? But back to the shoes. Taking Elphaba's last keepsake of her sister and giving them to Dorothy, whose house just killed her, isn't exactly giving Glinda the good, if you ask us.
Their magic must be very powerful, or she wouldn't want them so badly.
You stay out of this, Glinda, or I'll fix you as well.
Oh, rubbish. You have no power here. Be gone before somebody drops the house on you too.
Number 2. The Scarecrow and the Witch are what now? There are certainly flames between the Witch and the Scarecrow throughout The Wizard of Oz.
Here, Scarecrow, wanna play ball?
Only they tend to be actual fire, the kind the witch uses to threaten the Scarecrow or actually set him on fire. We were surprised to learn from the musical not just how the Scarecrow came to be, but also about a different kind of spark between him and the Wicked Witch. Now every encounter in The Wizard of Oz just seems baffling. Plus, why is the Scarecrow hanging around Dorothy? She just seems to be trouble for his beloved. The musical doesn't clear any of this up, and we're left just pulling at straws, trying to figure it all out.
How about a little fire, Scarecrow?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. How do the shoes become Dorothy's ticket home? So this is something you'll only know if you're aware of what happens in Act 2 of the musical. Nessa's mad at Elphaba for never using her magic to help her, so Elfie enchants her slippers so she can walk.
My shoes! It feels like they're on fire! What have you done to my
Yet the 1939 movie never tells us what's so special about those shoes. In the books, we learn that the Wicked Witch wants them to make her more powerful and that they offer an instant teleportation service.
When I gain those ruby slippers, my power will be the greatest in Oz.
Again though, if we set Baum book lore aside, did Glinda just decide to throw in a portal function as a surprise bonus? That's quite the upgrade.
Now those magic slippers will take you home in 2 seconds. Oh, Toto too? Toto too.
Well, you know what they say, if the shoe fits, start clicking. Is there anything about Wicked that is a head-scratcher after watching The Wizard of Oz? There's no place like the comment section to share your thoughts.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.